Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos issues 4 royal decrees. The Sultanate achieves 2 World Cups in youth biennial photography competition in German city of Cologne. Civil Service Council emphasizes increase of number of employment in the government units by 11% until last June. And rain outcome and winter tourism are prominent features of spring season that astronomically starts today in the governorate of Dhofar. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has issued 4 royal decrees. Royal Decree number 49/2014 establishes a public authority for mining and issues its system. Article 1 establishes a public authority called Public Authority for Mining, affiliates to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Article 2, the Public Authority for Mining shall have legal personality, enjoys financial and administrative independence, shall have capability to own immovable and movable properties, their management and disposition, and enacts provisions of the attached system towards it. Article 3, the Public Authority for Mining shall have its premises in the governorate of Muscat, and it is allowed to establish branches in the governorates as per decision by its Board of Directors. Article 4, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Public Authority for Mining shall issue regulations and decisions necessary to implement rules of the attached system after its approval by Board of Directors of the authority. Rules and royal decrees applied on the units of the state's administrative apparatus shall be applied on the authority in that where there is no special text mentioned towards it in the attached system, regulations and decisions issued in implementation of its rules. Article 5 transfers to the Public Authority for Mining functions, allocations and assets related to Directorate General of Mining in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It also transfers to it employees of the Directorate at their financial grades. Transferring will be in accordance with mechanisms to be agreed upon between the Minister of Commerce and Industry and Chief Executive Officer of the authority. Article 6 cancels all that contradicts with this decree and the attached system or contravene with their provisions. Article 7, this decree shall be published in the Official Gazette and shall come into effect from the date of issue. Royal Decree number 50/2014 establishes Jabal Kahwan Nature Reserve in the Governorate of South Sharqiya. Article 1 establishes a nature reserve named Jabal Kahwan Nature Reserve in the Governorate of South Sharqiya and allocates for it the area whose dimensions are specified in the attached appendix and map. Article 2, the Minister of Environment and Climate Affairs shall issue regulations and decisions implementing this decree in coordination with the ministers and bodies concerned, to be included way of managing the reserve, rules organizing its entry, fees decided for that, times of being in, work allowed to be exercised and those prohibited to be done, and suitable punishments in each case. Article 3, this decree shall be published in the Official Gazette and shall come into effect from the following day of its publication. Royal Decree number 51/2014 establishes Wetlands Reserve in the Governorate of Al-Wusta. Article 1 establishes Nature Reserve named Wetlands Reserve in the Governorate of Wusta and allocates for it the area whose dimensions are specified in the attached appendix and map. Article 2, the Minister of Environment and Climate Affairs shall issue regulations and decisions implementing this decree in coordination with the ministries and bodies concerned, to be including way of managing the reserves, rules organizing its entry fees, he decided for that, times of being in, work allowed to be exercised, and those prohibited to be done, and suitable punishments in each case. Article 3, this decree shall be published in the official gazette and shall come into effect from the following day of its publication. And Royal Decree number 52 over 2014 appoints judges in the Supreme Court. Article 1 appoints the following judges in the Supreme Court: Saeed bin Sliman bin Saeed al-Maskari, Dr. Sultan bin Hamad bin Salim al-Siyabi, Nasr bin Salim bin Ahmed al-Jabri, Salim bin Mansour bin Ali al-Hashmi, Sultan bin Majid bin Khalfan al-Zabi. This decree shall be published in the official gazette and shall come into effect from the date of its issue. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita of Mali on his country's National Day. The Sultanate calls upon the world countries to unify its efforts to combat Daesh groups in Iraq. That came during a speech delivered by His Excellency Yusuf bin Ali bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, before the Security Council. He emphasized that the Sultanate condemns all terrorist acts and supports the efforts exerted to combat terrorism. He said that terrorism in Arab countries with its various terms and types should be condemned at all standards, and that Iraq could overcome the crisis through the international community support. He further said that what is witnessed in Iraq today of brutal acts does not represent Islam, no human being at all, and should be eradicated totally. The Sultan achieves 2 World Cups of youth biennial photography competitions for youth under the age category of 16 and 21 years. This came in a ceremony held among the activities of Photokina International Exhibition at the city of Cologne in Germany. It witnessed a huge attendance from those interested in photography. The Omani youth winning in the competition achieved 1 gold and 2 bronze medals. This achievement reflects the Sultan's keenness in this field, as well as efforts of bodies concerned to develop youth skills. The participants expressed that such events motivate the youth to achieve more in photography field. Civil Service Council stressed that a number of employees in the government units subjected to civil service law increased during the period from June 2013 to June 2014 by around 11%. It came during the 3rd Council meeting this year. The Council indicates that the number of Omani employees who left their service decreased during the above period by 33%. During the meeting, results of a number of studies in the field of organizing job conditions for some employees categories were discussed. It also reviewed topics related to employing and contracting applications for some technical jobs in some governorate bodies. His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Umar Al Marhoon, Minister of Civil Service, Vice Chairman of the Civil Service Council, headed the meeting. Omani Hajj, or Pilgrimage Mission, continues its efforts to serve Omani pilgrims heading to sacred lands in Saudi Arabia. The mission provides iftar and religious counseling, administrative and financial services, as well as supervising on Hajj campaigns and medical services, in addition to media and cultural aspects. Oman Hajj Mission, while in Medina, Al Munawwar and Mecca, will look after Omani and other pilgrims, in addition to providing its services in other holy sites during the Hajj season. Still to come in the news bulletin, Environmental Conservation Office organizes a workshop of mechanism of developing 2 nature reserves. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The SAS 48th competition concluded by announcing the winners competing on 21,000 Omani Riyals. It was organized by Information Technology Authority, ITA. The competition was supervised by SAS Center for Entrepreneurship, and it targeted university students, job seekers and employees with the aim to highlight Omani youth talents and capabilities in IT field, in addition to introduce creative ideas and encourage the spirit of teamwork. The ITA will support the winners through the development of their project and to provide necessary technical support for their success. It will also provide counseling services and necessary licenses. The concluding ceremony was presided over by Dr. Salim Sultan Al-Rizaqi, Chief Executive Officer of Information Technology Authority. In its response to article written by one of the journalists of Al-Shabiba newspaper on the administrative obstacles that burden energies of the teachers, the Ministry of Education emphasized that the article is literally transferred from a Gulf newspaper. The ministry condemns the behavior of the journalist that contravenes with the media message and hailing at the same time efforts of teachers and their initiatives to serve the educational process. The ministry pointed out that it is aware of the existence of some challenges in the educational field, and it is working on finding appropriate solutions to overcome them. The ministry further published the article text written in the Gulf newspaper, which the journalist took literally. The Omani poet Humaid bin Abdullah Al-Jami'a Busur has passed away after a life he spent between poetry and literature. He dedicated his life to serve the Omani culture in general through many authoring and studies, most prominent of which was Diwan Baqat al-Adab and other books in fiqh such as literature context and students' objectives. He was born in an ancient village of the Wilayat of Samail and was taught by the senior scientist. He also worked as a teacher for a period of time before moving into judiciary field until he died. The regional representative of the Middle East and North Africa for human rights praised the role held by the Sultanate, considered it one of an advanced countries in the field of human rights for ensuring its citizens' rights through a number of agreements signed at both regional and international levels. This came while His Excellency Khalid bin Hilal Al-Mauli, Chairman of the Shura Council, received the Council premises today Abdul Salam Sayyid Ahmed, Regional Representative for the Middle East and North Africa for Human Rights, and his delegation. His Excellency, the Chairman of the Shura Council, welcomed the delegation, expressing the Sultan's appreciation for their efforts in the field of human rights, which considered one of the society's development's pillars in the world. From his side, the guest pointed out the deep relations among the security, peace, and ensuring that the individuals aren't at their rights. Major General Matar bin Salim Al-Blushi, Commander of the Royal Army of Oman, received in his office today Major General Anwar Jasim Al-Mazidi, head of the Military Education Authority in the Sicily state of Kuwait, and his accompanying delegation currently visiting the Sultanate. During the meeting, cordial conversations were exchanged and a number of matters of common concern were reviewed. The meeting also reviewed aspects of cooperation in the training fields and means of enhancing them. The spring season, Sarb, as it's called locally, has astronomically began in the Governorate of Dhofar today and continues until late December of each year, after the Governorate of Dhofar just said goodbye to the Kharif rainy season, which the Governorate had not experienced such season for decades in terms of rainfall and continuity in most days of the season. The spring season is characterized by sunshine and milder weather, low humidity and green trees, as this season is a season of flower blooming, and cold air breeze mixed with the smells of mountain aromatic flowers. The spring season is one of the tourist potentials which attracts domestic tourism, where plains and mountains experience active movement of tourists from the cities to enjoy the beauty of nature after the clearing of fog on the mountain peak caused by the autumn rains in the plain, in the mountains and a broad flat plateau to form landscape gardens stretching across the governorate. The importance of the spring season increases for farmers, fishermen and animal herders alike. Its breeding season for different crops, different types of fish, the spread of green pastures and honey. The spring season to mountain people and animal herders is a season of happiness and goodness, where there is grass pasture and cattle move in various parts of the plains and the mountains without the trouble of searching for the pasture because of plant diversity in this season, which is characterized by the good taste of meat and milk as well as dairy products. Very native plants and agricultural crops spread on the mountains, including corn, beans and cucumbers. This season is an important part of the harvest, as it is the last stage of agriculture season in mountain regions, which depends entirely on rainfall. With the aim of educating and guiding those heading to perform Hajj, Oman Women's Association in the Wilayat of Daba in the Governorate of Musandam organized a lecture for pilgrims, included a clarified visual show for Hajj rituals. It also clarified the mechanisms of prevention from infectious diseases and follow suitable precautionary measures. The lecture included also detailed explanation for pilgrims of chronic diseases and who are taking permanent medication. At the end of the lectures, health education brochures were distributed. It was presided over by His Excellency Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al-Abri, Wali of Daba. Complementing efforts of preserving wildlife in the Sultanate, Environment of Conservation Office in the Diwan of the Royal Court organized workshop and its employees on mechanisms of developing the two nature reserves, Al-Khwair and wild species and plant in the Governorate of Muscat, economically and tourism. The workshop aimed to come with scientific studies, including protect the environment system in the two reserves in cooperation with experts from Santiago Gardens in the United States. A summer tree in Al-Khwair reserves attracted a number of beautiful birds throughout the year due to the big number of insects which considered food source for these birds. Al-Khwair Nature Reserve is around 29 hectares and is a green area. This is the Sultan of Oman Television. Before we enter tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos issues 4 royal decrees. The Sultan achieves 2 World Cups in Youth Biennial Photography Competition in German city of Cologne. Civil Service Council emphasizes increase of number of employment in the government units by 11% until last June. And rain outcome and winter tourism are prominent features of spring season that astronomically starts today in the Governorate of Dhofar. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here in the studios and the newsroom, thanks for watching. Good night.